Welcome back to the channel. Today, we have something truly chilling for you. We're diving deep into the dark side of vacation rentals with 3 true Airbnb horror stories that will leave you sleeping with one eye open. These are not just stories, but real-life experiences that will make you think twice before booking your next stay. So, turn off the lights, grab your blankets, and prepare to be terrified.
Our first story takes us to a charming cabin nestled deep in the woods, a place that promises tranquility and a break from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. Imagine you've just arrived. The sun is setting, casting long shadows through the trees, painting the forest in hues of gold and amber. You step inside, the air is thick with the scent of pine. A fire crackles in the stone fireplace. It's perfect, idyllic even. The warmth of the fire wraps around you like a comforting blanket. This is exactly what I thought. I had booked this secluded getaway for a week of relaxation and solitude, a chance to disconnect from the digital world and reconnect with nature. The first day passed without a hitch. I spent my time wandering the peaceful hiking trails, the sound of leaves crunching underfoot and birds singing in the trees. I explored the nearby hiking trails, each path leading to new discoveries and breathtaking views. Later, I curled up with a book by the fire, the flickering flames casting dancing shadows on the walls. I even tried my hand at painting the picturesque scenery, capturing the serene beauty of the forest on canvas. But as the sun began to set on my second day, a sense of unease crept over me. The once comforting shadows now seemed to hide secrets. It began subtly, a flicker of movement in the reflection of a picture frame. I brushed it off, thinking it was just a trick of the light. I dismissed it as my imagination, but as I moved from room to room, that feeling intensified. The cabin, once a haven, now felt like a trap. I paused in the living room, my eyes scanning the room, landing on a smoke detector perched on the ceiling. It looked off, almost out of place. Curiosity overriding my apprehension, I grabbed a chair and climbed up, my heart pounding in my chest. The silence of the cabin was deafening. I carefully examined the smoke detector, my fingers tracing its edges, feeling for anything unusual, and then I felt it. A tiny, almost imperceptible bump. My heart raced as I realized what it could be. With trembling hands, I pried open the casing and stared in disbelief at what I found. A miniature camera lens staring back at me. Panic surged through me, my mind racing with questions. My idyllic retreat had been violated. The sense of peace I had felt was shattered in an instant. Every laugh, every moment of relaxation had been recorded. My private moments were no longer private, but by whom and why? The questions swirled in my mind, each one more terrifying than the last. Frantically, I searched the entire cabin, uncovering more hidden cameras in the bedroom and even the bathroom. Terror choked me as I realized the extent of the invasion. I felt exposed, vulnerable, violated. The walls seemed to close in on me, the once cozy cabin now a prison. I immediately contacted Airbnb and the local police, my hands shaking as I dialed the numbers. The investigation revealed that the charming host who had been so welcoming had a history of similar offenses. The facade of friendliness hid a sinister reality. My story serves as a chilling reminder that even in the most picturesque settings, darkness can lurk beneath the surface. Always be vigilant, for you never know what might be watching.
Our next story takes us to the bustling heart of New Orleans, a city steeped in history and mystery, where every corner seems to whisper secrets of the past. I, a history enthusiast, had booked a room in a beautiful old mansion in the French Quarter, eager to experience the city's unique charm and vibrant culture. From the moment I arrived, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. The air felt heavy, almost as if the walls themselves were watching me. The host, a frail, gaunt man with piercing blue eyes, welcomed me with a strange, almost predatory smile. His presence was unsettling, and his eyes seemed to bore into my soul. The mansion itself was beautiful, filled with antique furniture and strange artifacts from around the world. Each piece seemed to have its own story, adding to the mansion's enigmatic aura. But the air was thick with an oppressive silence, broken only by the creaking of floorboards and the distant sound of jazz music drifting in from the street. It was as if the mansion was alive, breathing in sync with the city's rhythm. I tried to shake off my unease, throwing myself into exploring the city. The lively streets of New Orleans, with their vibrant colors and sounds, provided a stark contrast to the eerie mansion. But every time I returned to the mansion, The feeling of being watched intensified. It was as if unseen eyes followed my every move, scrutinizing my actions. One evening, while exploring the mansion's dusty library, I stumbled upon a hidden compartment behind a bookshelf. My curiosity piqued. I carefully opened it. Inside, I found a collection of old journals, their leather covers cracked and faded. They seemed ancient, holding secrets long forgotten. I opened one, my fingers tracing the spidery handwriting. The ink was faded, but the words were still legible, telling a story that sent chills down my spine. The words chronicled the life of the mansion's previous owner, a man rumored to have dabbled in the occult and black magic. His experiments and rituals were detailed in a disturbingly meticulous manner. As I read further, my blood ran cold. The journal entries described gruesome rituals, sacrifices, and a pact made with a dark entity for wealth and power. The more I read, the more I felt a sinister presence enveloping me. The journal entries described gruesome rituals, sacrifices, and a pact made with a dark entity for wealth and power. The details were horrifying, painting a picture of unimaginable terror. The final entry ended abruptly with a chilling confession. I fear I have unleashed something evil into this house, something that will never let me go. The words seemed to echo in my mind, amplifying my fear. I slammed the journal shut, my heart pounding in my chest. The realization of what I had uncovered was overwhelming, and I felt a deep sense of dread. I suddenly understood the strange feeling that had been haunting me since my arrival. The mansion wasn't just old, it was a vessel for something malevolent, something that thrived on fear and despair. The mansion wasn't just old, it was evil. Its walls seemed to pulse with a dark energy, feeding off the terror of its inhabitants. That night, I couldn't sleep. The weight of the mansion's dark history pressed down on me, making it impossible to find any peace. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of the wind against the windows sent shivers down my spine. It felt as if the house was alive, watching and waiting. I lay awake in the darkness, listening to the sounds of the house, convinced that something was moving just beyond my sight. The shadows seemed to dance, mocking my fear. Desperate to escape the suffocating atmosphere of the mansion, I packed my bags and fled into the night, leaving behind the horrors I had uncovered. The city outside felt like a sanctuary, a stark contrast to the malevolent presence I had left behind.
Our final story takes us to the windswept coast of Ireland, to a solitary cottage perched on a cliff overlooking the crashing waves. The setting is both beautiful and haunting, a perfect backdrop for the eerie tale that is about to unfold. Emily, seeking solace after a painful breakup, had booked the cottage for a month, hoping to find peace and solitude in the rugged beauty of the Irish landscape. She believed that the isolation and natural beauty would help her heal, and perhaps even inspire her to start anew. The cottage itself was charming, with a cozy fireplace that crackled warmly, a small but functional kitchen, and a bedroom with a breathtaking view of the ocean. The sound of the waves crashing against the cliffs was both soothing and mesmerizing, a constant reminder of nature's power and beauty. But as darkness fell on her first night, Emily began to notice strange occurrences. Footsteps echoed on the wooden floorboards, though she was alone. Doors creaked open and slammed shut, seemingly of their own accord, and late at night, she could have sworn she heard the faint strains of mournful music drifting from the attic. The sounds were unsettling, but she tried to dismiss them as the quirks of an old house. Despite her growing unease, Emily tried to rationalize the strange happenings. The cottage was old, after all. It was only natural that it would have a few quirks. But as the days turned into nights, the occurrences grew more frequent and more unsettling. The footsteps seemed to follow her, the doors slammed with more force, and the music grew louder, more sorrowful. One evening, while preparing dinner, Emily heard a blood-curdling scream coming from the attic. Her heart racing, she slowly made her way up the creaking stairs, her hand trembling as she reached for the doorknob. The scream had been so real, so filled with anguish, that she couldn't ignore it. She pushed the door open, her breath catching in her throat at the sight before her. The air was thick with dust, and the room was filled with an eerie silence that seemed to press down on her. The attic, which had been empty just moments before, was now in complete disarray. Furniture was overturned, boxes were scattered across the floor, and a thick layer of dust hung in the air, as if disturbed by a sudden gust of wind. It was as if a violent storm had passed through the room, leaving chaos in its wake. And in the center of the room, she saw her, a young woman, dressed in a long white gown, her face pale and drawn, her eyes filled with an unspeakable sadness. The ghostly figure seemed to be from another time, her presence both ethereal and haunting. Emily stood frozen in terror as the ghostly figure turned towards her lips parting as if to speak. The air grew colder, and Emily could feel the weight of the woman's sorrow pressing down on her. But before she could utter a word, she vanished into thin air, leaving Emily alone in the dusty attic, her heart pounding in her chest. The room was once again silent, but the memory of the ghostly woman lingered, a chilling reminder of the encounter. Emily didn't wait to see what other horrors the cottage held. She fled into the night, her footsteps echoing on the wooden floorboards as she ran. The image of the ghostly woman was seared into her mind, a haunting vision that she couldn't shake. She fled into the night, the image of the ghostly woman seared into her mind, a chilling reminder that some places are best left undisturbed. The cottage, once a place of solace, had become a place of terror, and Emily knew she would never return.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more spine-chilling content. Remember, these are just a few of the countless creepy encounters people have shared from their Airbnb stays. And remember, always be cautious when booking your next stay. Do your research, trust your instincts, and if something feels off, it probably is. Sweet dreams.